Ladies and gentlemen, I am Chris Snyder.
And I am Chuck Canty of the Rumble.
And you are listening to the Local Earshot Podcast.
There you go.
Well, I work my fingers to the bone. I never get to go home. This is my ever wanted life, man, if that's destiny. I work my fingers to the bone. I never get to go home. This is my ever wanted life, man, if that's destiny. Damn, I destroyed myself, but you contributed. I destroyed myself, but you helped. I destroyed myself, but you contributed. I destroyed myself.
Hello, everybody. This is Johnathan Grissom with Morebands Media and the Local Earshot Podcast. I am here with the Rumble, and I am here with
Chuck Canty.
Chris Snyder.
All right, and I just want to start out the episode and do a shout-out out to Oklahoma Hardcore. They did an excellent job out there at the skate park, little event in Plaza. That shit was awesome. Like, there was a lot of bands playing, and there was a lot of good money coming in for all the different restaurants and stores and all that stuff down there, so it was a really, really fun event. So now we have on the Rumble... there's an event on September 26th.
The 23rd on a Saturday.
23rd? Okay. Yeah, and it's a art show, and there's punk rock. There's the Costanzas, the Rumble, and Lowdown Weasel.
Weasel.
Mm-hmm. Shit. Fucking up shit.
Trying to read it sideways.
Yeah, I'm fucking tired, dude. But yeah, and so we're gonna have like several different episodes. It's gonna have the different people on that are a part of the event up until that date. So kind of tell me a little bit about your band and like where you guys come from, how you guys met, and just kind of the backstory of the beginnings of the band.
Well, I'll start this off and then you can jump in.
All right.
I moved here from Chicago because I was stationed at VQ3 at Tinker, and through other people at the Blue Note at the time, I ended up meeting Bill Akins, who is and we became a band. They play Wolf at the two-piece, and we were being in the Paseo neighborhood where we practiced. That's how we ended up meeting him, Chris, just like be in a neighborhood, like, hey, come sit with us and drink a beer, and then you come to our shows.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was always a big fan. I love two-piece. I love the dynamics that come out of a two-piece. I played music in a couple other bands. Pandemic happened. Also raising a family, trying to deal with all of that. So then one day, the wife and I are at a grocery store, and I see this cat who I haven't seen in 3 years.
Because of the pandemic, shut the world down.
And so he says, hey, are you interested in doing anything? And I said, absolutely I am. And, well, let's do practice on Sunday. And that began the Rumble.
Okay. And where do you guys draw your like the stuff that you guys listen to and stuff that kind of brings into your music and kind of your style?
I'd have to say that's good when we were on the same similar page on that, because like we're both big Naked Ray Gun fans.
Absolutely.
To say that I'm wearing a T-shirt for the Effigies today, and like one of the songs that we're going to hear later, "The Street," is kind of structured off of their stuff. Unfortunately, the singer of that band, John Kesdy, was killed by an Amazon truck on his bicycle 2 weeks ago, which is a huge loss in the Chicago punk rock scene because he like helped start it. And his brother, his brother Pierre Kesey, was in the first punk band in Chicago, Strike Under, who ended up being a bass player for Naked Ray Gun and Peg Boy. Mm-hmm. And all those bands are kind of interrelated. Like, we're playing in this one and we're switching members, so it's always the same wheelhouse. So we were listening to a lot of the Effigy stuff, especially the songwriter C01, and Stiff Little Fingers is another influence.
Absolutely, yeah. Theros.
Yeah, on my own, I was doing a lot of Irish folk traditional acoustic sets, or like what?
Yeah, I noticed some of that in some of the music.
Yeah, a lot of it would, as they call it, the shanty Irish set. 'Cause it was more body. I kind of incorporated that in there because I'm that style guitar player too. So try to get those elements on the guitar side of the house. Mm-hmm. Let's see what other bands. The Flamin' Groovies are another roadmap.
Certainly.
Because they have a wide variety of work, and they've been a band for so long that they've made like really unique punk rock records. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think they're kind of underappreciated.
Yeah.
Because some of their song structures are fantastic, and we were kind of using that too. And that's kind of why some of those instrumentals and some of them, like I would say, like motorcycle type themes are coming in. Got us popular playing with the bikers.
But I think things as well, like
I mean, the biker clubs are kind of fun though to play at.
And they can be dangerous,
yeah.
as we discovered after the Whiskey Barrel Saloon incident.
Yeah, what happened there?
We played that show on St. Patrick's Day with the Costanzas and the Black Powder Charlies, and
a few days later, someone decided to make some mischief happen of a bad order.
Basically, I left my microphone stand there because I wanted to use mine, and on the week following that show, I went on Friday night to get it back. And the next day, there was a big biker gang shootout inside that bar between like the Banditos and the Homitos, where like 3 people died and 3 people went to the hospital. I think they accidentally shot the karaoke girl.
Oh, damn.
It's kind of strange. Like I went in there.
That's a dangerous career. It's karaoke.
Yeah. Well, you can go in there
So wait.
Like,
so the other guy you're talking about,
Avalon.
stories. Your stories are crazy because like the other guy, like he died from an Amazon truck, and then this lady got shot. Innocent standby in
that story
gang fight
for Oklahoma City that made international news. Like where that story made it to Japan.
And all someone wanted to sing was Tub Thumping. And they got a hole put in them.
Yeah, so what happened, to make a long story short, I went in there for a union meeting in June to meet a couple guys to have a beer, and they still had the chairs and there were bullet holes in them because they were too cheap to throw them away. You're like, oh, my God. Like, they're saving the death chair in here? Like,
I mean, it's probably a reminder.
Yeah, I guess.
A reminder, but also, who doesn't hate a haunted chair? I mean, that is a curio now.
You could see where the bullet, like, went through the tee golf game, the little rollerball game, and then went through this little wood wall that separates where the dance floor is, where it hit the karaoke chick.
Dang, so that was like an actual shootout.
Oh, yeah. They went in there to do a straight-up biker gang hit. The fallout from that was, I think, 16 of their club members from the Banditos got arrested for that as a conspiracy.
Wow.
I mean, you could look that up in the news and get the whole running log of what happened. But.
All in all, though, it was a great show.
Yeah, it was a good show.
The actual show is great.
The show was great.
It's like playing.
It's a good thing we weren't playing the following Saturday and it was St. Patty's Day.
Because like everybody was like playing touches and stuff, and like and that was a pretty crazy little place. But I mean, the biker guys there, they kind of kept to themselves as long as you just respected them.
Yeah, I guess
the music was too rock and roll. They had to leave. They couldn't handle it so much. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say any more about that.
I'll zip as well then.
We live to tell the story.
All right, so tell me a little bit about these songs that we got. So we got 28 Days, we got James Tank, and then we got The Chair.
Okay, 28 Days. We were having band practice, and like how it happens when you start having like you don't want to play the same song over and over and over again. That's something we've been aware of, like with our songwriting structures, is like a lot of bands fall into that trap. It's like song 1 through 15 on their set list sounds like the first song all the way to the last song. So they have different kind of dynamics and stuff. And I was telling him when I lived in San Diego, I used to be in a band called The Flip Side, and my guitar player in that band was friends with Hector Penaloza from the Zeros. So we used to go hang out with him. But he wasn't playing punk rock at that point. He was like doing this bossa nova jazz bass playing stuff. And but he was in a band called Loud, and he was telling me like we like to go to Spain because the Spaniards like their music more raw than in America. Like we do better in Europe, and it's not worth it to tour in the United States. And I was like, really? Well, he gave me the CD for free, and I pulled it out and I found it. And I was like, dude, I want you to listen to this Northwest Road Trip song. It's like how this is kind of set up, and that's kind of how that kind of sprang out of that with that kind of influence. Because like the Zeros were actually the first punk band in San Diego, so they're like gods down there as far as that world goes. And that was kind of the influence with that. Like the theme of the lyrics is basically like, hey, I know you're like messing with me. Things are going sour in our relationship, and I'm going to do this stereotypical guy thing, and I'm getting in my car, and I'm going to do 150 miles an hour down the highway to get away from you. And I need my own space. And the 28 Days part is like the reference for the month of February. And that's where the numbers come into play. But it only took 14 for you to break my heart because you screwed me over on Valentine's Day.
Yep.
And then like the 28 days, the whole month.
The whole month.
Yeah.
There's only 28 days, but it just took you 14 to do this.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. We'll play that one, and then we'll go into the next ones.
Okay.
Here I am. Remember me, takes the time, stick in my mind, time to drive, leave you behind, get up and go, you didn't think I knew.
28 Days by The Rumble. All right. Kind of tell me, like, what we were just talking about, like, instruments and all that stuff about the song.
Well, normally, like how we play live and at practice, I'm a strictly Fender Telecaster thin line player, which has special humbucking pickups in it that it drives itself. And I have a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, and between that and if you have the amp set up right, we never have effects. We play clean for the live shows. So we knew that we were going to the studio, and that made it even easier because that's how we play for real anyway, to like get the roadmap down. Like, we're going to play live with guitar and drum with a scratch track vocal. And then I came back, and I ended up putting in the bass lines, and that took about 5 hours for all the songs. And then I came back again to do double ups on guitar because
I think that's actually worth mentioning. Our first run of the scratches we did in 5 hours, just back to back to back to back.
We practice like that so that we wouldn't wait because it's like $1 a minute. This isn't a time to waste time.
Right.
So when we were brand practicing to get ready for the studio, it was brutal. It was like no breaks.
Yeah, no breaks. You just get through it.
After the 15th song, then we'll have a Pabst and a cigarette, and then break time's over. Back on the drum set because we knew that we had to be in shape to go the whole distance. And at first, like Steve Boaz, he's the one that did the recording. And Norman,
Breathing Rhythm Studio.
Studio. And
I've heard of Breathing Rhythm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
plenty of times.
He's a sound genius. Like he knows how to get the sound. And when he was like, "Yeah, we're going to do 15 songs or whatever,"
he's like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah, are you serious? Most bands can't get 3 done." I was like, "We're doing all 15 today."
I mean, yeah, but like, I would say too though is that like with punk bands though, your songs are like 2 to 3 minutes on average.
Yeah,
so that's kind of good
because
like, you're not doing a 10-minute song.
Yeah,
like,
we're not.
Like Ron Ramsey, like over in like Kingdom Ashes, be like doing this long ass fucking songs that are like 20 minutes long. It's like Jesus, dude.
Yeah, we weren't trying to pull a King Crimson in there.
No.
It was some Robert Fripp stuff, and we knew too that like the ultimate goal with the recordings is that it has to be mastered in 2 different processes. One for like digital, which is internet music or CD. And then if you want to have an album with vinyl, that's a totally different mastering process because the bass lines will be like so massive that it'll actually cut into the next groove of the record when they go to like lay the record. So, and you can only get 40 minutes worth of music on an album. And if they try to cram more into that like makes it even weirder, and it can like degrade the sound of the actual vinyl. So we knew like we got to have it dialed in for side A and B. And we're not trying to do Metal Machine music by Lou Reed with like a double LP because that's not us.
Right.
So that's kind of the science behind it.
Okay. And then we'll play, was it James Tank?
Oh yeah, and there's a funny story after this song too.
He rides with courage. He rides for
James Tank by The Rumble. All right. So tell me this little story about it.
Well, the story is based off of this guy in the Face of Souls. It's a veterans riding support motorcycle club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to get the phrasing right.
MC, yeah.
So, and they do a lot of charity events for veterans and stuff like that. I know they work a lot with the VFW Hall on Pennsylvania Avenue on the south side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I go by that one a lot.
Yeah, so there's a guy that's built like Beastmaster who will go nameless, James.
Well, yeah, you did a good job with the nameless.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
but
his Tank.
But his nickname is Tank because they all have their name on their jacket as like the moniker that they get when they get patched in or whatever.
Okay.
So his name is Tank, and really
That's
good
his
heart.
call sign.
Yeah, built like Beastmaster, but he's a good-hearted dude, and.
A mountain of a man with a heart of gold.
Yeah, he takes a lot of videos and puts them on Facebook of some of these motorcycle rides where he's doing like 80 miles an hour and his skin's like shaking in his face, but they're like an hour long. And it's like, dude, that's what this instrumental that we did kind of sounds like that, like Arrow's biker exploitation music from the 70s. Mm-hmm. Like Lucifer's children came to town and the sheriff's daughter was in trouble, starring Peter Fonda. And it kind of sounds like that.
Yep. Switchblades are flying.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a thumbs up to him as a friend of ours with like a motorcycle glory song.
Yeah. I mean,
Nice.
because one of the things that happened was after Whiskey Barrel, which we mentioned before, went down, that situation, there was going to be another motorcycle club related show that we were playing. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, brother, you know what? I'll take a bullet for you." And I said, "Why? I don't know.
Why
I
would
don't
you
know.
take
I'm
a
just
bullet
the
for me?"
drummer. I'm just the drummer." But again, like heart of gold. He's a beast. He's a wonderful man he's a sweetheart.
Yeah,
Can you imagine there being a shootout and like a dude jumping in front of a dude on a pair of drums?
yeah, I
Just
don't.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, no,
Yeah,
like, just
yeah.
Dive in,
over.
just-
Yeah.
yeah.
But like he
Yeah.
kicks ass. He's a solid dude. And so when he throws up those videos of him just like on the road on the twos, yeah,
Well,
it's an inspiration.
That club also did a big ride to Floribama. I think that was the goal to like go to because where that bar's cut in half, and half of it's in Alabama, half of it's in Florida, kind of by Pensacola Naval Air Station, and then they ended up riding back. So it was a pretty long haul where they all went on this endeavor on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't even want to drive there in my car, so that's got to be brutal.
Oh yeah, I just went upstate to the damn down was it Route 66 all the way down, like in my car, like in my Jeep, and like I had my friends with me and shit, and I mean that trip alone was
brutal.
like a fucking couple hours. like
even
it
more so in
ended
a
up being
Jeep.
like 4 hours because like I guess because you do all the stops and everything, but it ends up being 4 or 5 hours long when you're going through all those different events and
Did
stuff.
you see the giant ball of yarn?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the thing. Well, we didn't go the other way yet, so I don't
Okay,
know.
okay.
Like, if you leave here and you go toward
Chicago.
Texas
Yeah.
or like the other places, like I'm pretty sure you see other
There's
shit.
got to be some cool
Like,
stuff.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I know that there ain't much between here and Tulsa, other than like the major cities that have shit. But like I guess COVID kind of killed all those small towns because they used to have a bunch of little diners and shit. But yeah, because we stopped at like some golf or was it bowling alley in Chandler. It was like a Route 66 bowling alley.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
What was your game?
Huh?
Was
Oh,
you-
I didn't play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know
just
when
got
you go out
food. I
when you
just
go
went
out
there for
west,
food.
like you can do it, but then there's sections of it that don't exist anymore. So then you got to get back on.
That's what kept happening to us on this.
That's a bummer because I've always wanted to see one of the TP motel places.
Yeah, that actually we saw that. Like, there's a TP. I guess it was like a motel or something. I don't know what the fuck
That's
it was.
cool.
It said TP like something. It had a bunch of little like bungalow type looking things.
Right on.
And shit. But yeah, it was pretty cool. We actually went there because my housemate wanted to see the well that's out there. It's like a big ass blue well.
Yeah,
It's
the
really-
wheel of Catoosa.
Yeah, but it's fucking weird because like on one side of it, the well looks like he's like high as shit, whereas like the other side he's all
Oh, that
smiling and
one.
stuff, has a little hat. But like if you go on the other side, his eyes all like down, droopy and shit,
Yeah.
like he's like drunk or something. So
Well, I mean, there's not a lot to do in Catoosa, I don't think, except for drinking. So.
yeah, we went to like a little museum there, and then stopped by the Hard Rock, which I didn't gamble, but that's because I used to have a gambling problem. So I just kind of like was like, yeah, I'm just here to check out shit. I ain't here to do play any games. So
see the sights.
Let me see. Do you want to play the chair or the streets? Or street?
The street?
Yeah, let's do the street next. That kind of breaks it up.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
All right.
Traveler with no home, I've got no place to call my own. I light a cigarette in the dark, I gotta be careful to hide the spark. Out of the corner I see a shadowy figure, just laughing at me. I gotta move, nowhere to stay, I hope I can relief when it turns to day. I'd be instructing myself if I wasn't the one already standing in your shoes. Can't trust what I see, what I feel, I can't hear the sounds. I know those hands when you're floored by the truth, how that puts you down. Prying out of my own mind, losing focus, losing sight. A father dies, a child cries, the real reason to answer why. Try to fight with all your might, but you always fail at what you try. I'm prying out of my own mind, losing focus, losing sight.
All right, that's The Street by The Rumble. All right.
Yeah, that would I'd say like I was talking about this band before, the Effigies from Chicago, where I could say that that's a kind of structured off of their business model with that one, because to me, with all the different chord structures going on, industrialization, urbanization, and urban decay, isolation, alienation, all the things that you feel like if you live in an industrial like city, for instance, where there's a steel mill in your backyard. And we all know this, just even living in Oklahoma City. You might be in a city, but the city can be a lonely place real fast.
Yeah, I would say even like with like the level of gentrification and things like that happens, you just suddenly feel like I don't know what to do anymore. And I think the street really, really brings that one out.
Yeah, plus at the end, like with the kind of sort of doing some Mozart horn fists on that, and then it goes into some minors at the end, and it makes it feel like a clump of dirt out of a graveyard. Because it's supposed to sound like that. It's supposed to be depressing a little bit, as it still moves, because you still got to move and make moves.
And the percussion on the back end of that keeps the movement occurring while the rest of everything that's occurring on the strings and vocally are occurring. Which, to me, it's a great song. It's a fun song, and one of my influences. We've talked about this one before. Is like television. I love television. I love that weird post-punk kind of math rock thing, Devo, in the same fashion. Very, very interesting hits, but every hit matters. And I think in that one it has that feeling of racing but then what do you race towards?
Yeah, we've had that conversation a lot about percussion, where it's like, why does Peter Criss suck from Kiss? Because you hear like it's like, that annoys me. Why is Mick Fleetwood a fantastic drummer? Because he barely does any fills, but when he does, it's required to make the band go into another movement, and he keeps the beat. So that's something we've always tried to keep in mind with the structures of the drum. Make every hit count. Don't waste energy. And we don't need to have a lot of punk bands make that mistake, and some of that could be like immaturity, like when they're younger. Because I'm just as guilty of it too as a string player. Like we're gonna be like the Exploited, and you're trying to play well outside of what you can do, and it's like, and then it just gets lost. And people want to like like punk rock when it starts getting good is when it all comes together with all these idiosyncrasies with time. And then the melodies are there, and the vocals make sense because that's an instrument all of its own too. And you're like, man, I can like go on a road trip and listen to this in my car from start to finish because it all sounds timeless. Yeah,
and that's kind of like what I actually do with music. I drive a lot, so
it's the best place to listen to it.
If I can find music that I can just drive through and actually like enjoy. And no matter what the genre is, it's like that's what I want to listen to. So
most people listen to music more in their vehicle than anywhere else. Like you spend more time in there than you really believe.
Yeah, sad part of you shouldn't be spending that much time in there as much as we all do, but we do. So.
Yeah, and then you're not distracted. Like if you're in your house, you throw a record on, and somebody calls you, and you turn the stereo off, and I'm getting my laundry out, so I'm in another room listening to it still. But in your car, you're hyper focused on what you're listening to as you're driving.
Yeah, and they have music for that too, though. Like, what do you call it? They call it lo-fi. Lo-fi hip hop and stuff, and lo-fi beats, which is like music that you just put on while you're like studying and things like that. And some of it does have like actual like instrumentals and things like that in it, but it's just designed to be in the background. So you're not listening to like, it's more instrumental based though.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because we actually have had discussions about this, and we have a couple of instrumental songs that we play.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah, no, your actual song, like the Rumble.
The Rumble,
is an instrumental, right? For the most part, or is it?
I
listened to like some of it.
There's two. There's the Rumble, which is like, and then there's the Lords of the Rumble, which is more like a Flaming Groovies type of thing going on, where it's like, okay, we're blasting out of the Roadhouse. Let's get after it.
Yeah, you've heard enough songs. You've heard enough of our music. Here's just a time to sit back and relax and have a good time.
And it gives me a break from having to sing all the time, too. Because it's like, oh, man, I can actually just have fun and play my instrument, not having to sit there and have a microphone in my face.
Do you use that one as a interlude, or do you use it as a
we probably that one's probably like normally in about the middle of our set.
Yeah, it does serve as a sort of intermission.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that we're not doing every single thing on the stage. But for everyone else, like, all right, take a break from some of these heavy themes that we do tackle.
If you want to go grab a beer while this is playing, then go do that.
But you're going to do it with the fucking, like, badass walk. You're going to look awesome. You're going to look tough walking out of the room with that song playing.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, one last comment about the street with the syncopations on that. Before it picks up into that power ending, where it's doing that old school punk rock herky-jerky thing. And that kind of style with punk rock, I think, is kind of a lost art. And that's, how many bands do you know that you've heard lately or seen live that do that herky-jerky punk rock style?
I think it's rare. I think it kind of faded out in prominence probably in the mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s. And then we had things like more of the polished pop punk, the radio-friendly.
Yeah, it'd be like third-generation punk rock.
Yeah, that kind of took over, which lost sight of for sake of sales. And I'm not knocking that. I'm not making a living making music.
Right. But I don't think many people are. And that's something that I was talking to my teachers about. I'm like, not many people here are really making money in music.
Exactly. But like there was a reason that it started the way it did. It's because people wanted to change. But then it just became gray begets gray begets gray, carbon copies of carbon copies of carbon copies. And so bringing it back to some of the roots that actually inspired people to listen to stuff, I think is really important. And I think it's something that we accomplish quite well in our approach to our songwriting, our stage presence, our delivery, and how we play.
Awesome. All right, do we want to do this last one, or we got people coming in now? So do you just wanna, cut it?
Fuck them if they can't take a joke. I say we play the last song and then we'll talk about the art show.
All right, awesome. All right, The Chair by The Rumble. All right, let's talk about this art event that's coming up on the 23rd.
Okay.
Really stoked about it.
Yeah, there's this. We one day we were at band practice, and I was talking about. I have some posters from my Factor 4 band that are all over my house in frames, and I was like, yeah, we used to do these art shows that were punk rock shows. So the bands would be playing with the artists as an immersive thing, and you don't see that in Oklahoma City. It's normally a punk show or just an art show, or an art show with like a trance type DJ or whatever.
Yep.
I was like, but
it might be an open mic or like a singer songwriters type stuff.
A smorgasbord of.
I was like, it's not a secret that our scene is always had a bad reputation for being weak. Mm-hmm. So I was like, how do you get this together to get people to like wake up? It's like you got to get the artists talking to the musicians and vice versa, and the only way to do that is to work together to make it happen. So
collaboration.
So we tried a venue, and that didn't work out, and that's okay. We had a show at an Aloha backyard, and the owner, Buck, was there. And I've known him from when he was in the Quickies, because we opened up for the Misfits together when I was in They Play Wolf at Farmers Market. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I liked your set. The songwriting's there. Here you go again with another two-piece. Just get a bass player. Make it fun every time.
Every time.
So it's like, okay, yeah, get a bass player. But we're doing this art show you were talking to me about. Now I understand. So it's like, okay. And like I was already talking with J.D. Scott. He's a local photographer around here. I call him the rock and roll photographer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he specializes in the concert, just like Mary Ellis does a lot of the bigger stuff. So those are two that I follow a lot and I work with a lot. So he's like, yeah, this would be cool. So we made the Sigmund Freud Historical Society is me, obviously Chris, Buck, and J.D. Scott, and we kind of wheelhouse this. We split up tasks because it was too much to manage. It's like we'll take care of the music end. Mm-hmm. Buck's going to do sound. Yeah, he's going to get a food truck here and sound at his joint because he's already got that equipment here. J.D. Scott, we each picked 4 artists apiece. Yeah. So I had 4 artists. He got to pick 4 artists, and then JD picked 4 artists. Mm-hmm. So that way it was fair. So it just was a one-man operation playing favorites. Right. Because the one thing that we know to be true, unfortunately in Oklahoma City, there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on. Yes. Yep. And they push. And if you got a good solid idea, one of 2 things will happen. They'll kill it, so it can never get started because they didn't cook it up, or B, they'll try to steal it and do it themselves and push you out. Yep. So we kind of had to keep our cards close to our chest on this. And then
played it real tight to the vest.
Yeah, and then come to find out.
And I think another issue that a lot of people run into out here too is, and I've talked to like one of my teachers is the booker for Tower Theater, and he said, you know, like one of the things that people run into is that these venues are booked out like a year and a half.
Oh yeah,
and so like they're booked out so far that like it's almost impossible to get a show in. And even then, I was telling some of the local artists, I'm like, if you get with John, like Blue Note or like certain bookers, and you just get on their list. In other words, they have a list that he has off to the side that says, hey, if somebody backs out of a fucking show, he has a call. You know, ends up playing those shows a lot. The Killings and Caught Stealing. You know why they end up that way? It was because they got on the list on like half the damn venues inside the damn town. They were smart. And so, like, and that's the thing, if you're on those lists, but the problem is, to be a headliner or to, like, actually get a show going, it's a lot harder, especially concerning the fact we don't have, I mean, we have a lot of venues, but we don't have, a lot of
We've lost a lot of venues, too.
Yeah, a lot has happened.
Think about that, just in a Paseo alone, Sauce changed, it's just a pizza place now. Yep. Red Rooster's just a hamburger place. The place that was Burger Punk was at Art Studio, because I played in that place during the Paseo Arts Festival one year.
VZD's
closed.
Yeah, VZD's
we've lost Hilo.
The 89th is moving from what I heard online. I saw a post of it. They were talking about that they were moving to 12th Street or 13th Street.
Around the old the Drunken Fry? Or
I think so. I think that's one of those buildings. Yeah, and then
Bora Bora Club's gone. The Chameleon Room's gone. I mean, the Hidden Castle in Norman's gone. Yep. I mean, so we've lost it, and that's a major hit for musicians because they're like, well, where do you play besides your living room if you want to play live?
Yeah,
and now there's only a few venues left, and that's not necessarily a good thing either.
Where did the new cats cut their teeth? Like,
have you ever done a Vegas show?
Vegas show?
Like the backyard, Vegas, like Vegas Vago. He throws outdoor concerts at his.
It's so hard playing outside. It's extremely difficult.
But so that's kind of how that came together, and we started with this. Candace made our poster. Candace Rio of Creo Designs. She's been working with me for years making posters. And I noticed, like, when I went to Guest Room Records, I put some up in the window and I left a stack. I've been back there 5 times because what normally happens is your little handbills will sit there collecting dust, and they're still sitting there when you're bringing in new handbills for another show. They've been gone every time. Even the record store person was like, hey, like, people are talking about that when they come in here. So I think that people in Oklahoma City that live around this part find something significant about this, and they're excited about it because it's about to hopefully jumpstart something.
I think so too. We've lost some of the community in the creative crowd. It's become a little bit cliquish, and one of the things that I love about this show and other things that we have in the works is that we're trying to bring artists, musicians, performers, whatever, who don't have the opportunity always to be seen, an opportunity to be seen in a way that's meaningful, potentially profitable, in a way that like starts building community that has not existed for quite a while out here, at least from my experience.
Well, the one concept too is I took a page out of the Chicago playbook when I was doing that before. So every artist keeps 100% of the sales of their paintings.
Right.
They're not paying wall space charge or commission like they would at a gallery or something like.
I'm on a 640 deal right now.
Yeah,
which means that I take 60, they take 40, but it at least gets my art
at least
out of my
a little bit
apartment,
of something.
Yeah, but here it's like if you lose and you had to pay for wall space, you paid to play basically as an artist, and then you didn't sell anything, so you're out.
Yep.
And this way, this should encourage the artists to bring the cost of their paintings down, because let's face it, who's coming to these? People like me who put their pants on when they get a time being an average Joe Blow, who's not a millionaire, and I might have bought it for $200 or $300, but $500, no. And why do they have to jack that up? Because they're compensating for the fact that they got to pay a commission off of it or get their wall space money back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this would hopefully bring the cost of the art down so people can actually then appreciate it and want to buy it, can afford it.
Well, I also noticed too, because I recently just started getting into the art galleries here, and like they also they go for your bigger pieces. Like they came over and they were looking at my pieces, and she's like, "Well, I want this one and this one and this one," and they were all my larger ones. And I'm like sitting there going, like, "You don't want any of these small ones?" Like, and she goes, "There's no money in those small ones. Like you're going to be better off to sell them in a store." Like, yeah, I fully understand that. Like a shop, right? Like cool, because each one of those sell for $30. I could probably make more money off those small ones if I just keep on making small ones. I can make more money in the long run. And also, they're easier to scan because I make digitals off of all my art. So, like, I make, like, clothing and magazines, you know, like, what is it, like, cups and all sorts of products.
Yeah, like the Vincent Price collection from
like,
Sears.
you can make all sorts of cool shit with that stuff. And it's like, but you can't make that stuff if you don't.
Etsy shop.
Yeah, and I mean that's how you make money. Like that's how artists really make money nowadays, is that you make products off of your shit or prints, and it's because you can actually increase the value of a painting just by selling the print.
Yeah, and you normally number and sign it.
Yeah,
yep.
I mean that's been done before.
Well, it sucks that is the reality.
But it also keeps it cheaper than buying the original, because the original's gonna be 10 times more expensive than the print.
Yep. Especially if you blow up and if all your prints sell for $100 a piece, and that little bitty painting is this big, you know, you talk about the Mona Lisa is literally, like, if you've ever seen it, like it's this big.
Oh, yeah.
It's not fucking big, but they make it louder than life because they like grow. You know, they make the size bigger with digital. And it just makes it bigger.
But that's the thing. It's like ultimately what hurts everyone is the commoditization of creativity. Like what we do. What everyone on this poster does.
Right now I feel like, the truth be told, like we were making this joke, like I feel like the Woodstock promoters. It's like we got Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Who, and then now we're going to be stuck picking up all the garbage, and we lost $1 million on this because our band's in a hole. Like just for the Magic 8-Ball reading chair, that's over budget, because that was a poster joke that turned real.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those kids at that school, they don't understand whenever that teacher that's 20 years in was saying, dude, it's a hard industry, and sometimes you'll be broke and you'll be like sitting there crying in your fucking bed that night because you're like, God damn it, man, like I lost so much fucking money today. It's like
but there's also a fucking lack of valuation.
But the reward is amazing.
Sure.
Well, the reward for us is like, this is not going to be the last one, and I'm not going to divulge details of the next one, but it is coming, and it's going to be coming sooner than later, and the next podcast will talk about that, because here we go again. We're holding our cards close to our chest.
Do that. Yeah, keep it in.
So, and there's a reason for it. You probably know about it anyway.
Hopefully,
we're just not going to loose lips sing shit.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully, here's the thing. This will maybe be the start of a sea change. And I don't want to sound like hyperbolic in saying so, but maybe we can start bringing people together in a way that we actually support one another from the venue side to the performer side, so that people actually get to get entertained. The bars get to have their wells drunk dry. Everyone makes money, has a good time.
Except for the Rumbo.
Except
in the hole.
Yeah. But that's all we want.
Yeah, you sit there like, man, how many welding dollars got invested in that poster today?
Yeah, totally know what you're talking about, because like, I mean, you could look at my equipment and know like how much money I've dropped into this shit. I'm talking like over $1,000, $2,000.
Oh yeah, because it's not cheap.
So it's not cheap to do this stuff, and so
September 23rd.
at the Core, or is it Core, how they say, or Core4?
Core4.
Core4 Brewery on 7 North Lee Avenue. The art show portion starts at 6, and then it'll be a 2-hour window so people could like peruse the paintings and not get blasted out by the noise. You know, and they could talk and commiserate.
Mm-hmm.
And
Also all ages.
It's also all ages, because even though it's a brewery, it's not a bar. So you could bring children to this.
Nice.
And I've seen them in here before, so I know it's real.
Yeah, I saw some kids over there.
Yeah, so that's kind of unique, you know, which is good, because people that are like my age bracket being older, you got like a teenage son that might want to go. You don't have to leave him behind this time.
Yep, and the Toon Tax Band comes around, and people tend to dip, so guess what? We also have no cover. So just come around, hang out, check out some badass artists, check out some good bands, us included, and then just support the local creative community.
Yep, Sigmund Freud Historical Society show.
It's kind of what I that's my soapbox, you know, like promote local music, artists, comics, like all of it.
Yep.
Like your producers, your recorders, all these people that are local that are doing things for the industry, support them, because, like, honestly, like we're all working really, really hard to build the scene out here again, and it's like we don't want it to fall in the early stages of society where it was like
I can feel things
bands used to fight all the time.
Yeah, bubble into the surface, because I've noticed just with this and talking to people, because this show's gaining steam amongst the community, that people are like happy and excited for it. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost kind of a first, and it's like, man alive, I think it's going to do well, and if that's the one that's going to set the tone for the next one, which is going to help set the tone for the next one, and it can keep being more fantastic. And
snowball it.
Bring in different bands and bring in different artists, so it's just not the same show over and over and over again, because that's unproductive.
Yep. Yeah, and then you bring in different venues and different locations.
Absolutely.
Like that
Exactly.
Doing it, because then it's like James Nim does a thing called the pop-up radio, or was it comedy robot Save City, and so he's been doing it at the Speakeasy, but he does it, pops up all over town, where he just has random comics do like open mics and stuff. And then he also has comics from out of town and stuff, because he was saying that he got sick and tired of not being able to see all these like smaller artists that are in the comedy game, like that world, like those guys. They wouldn't come to the city because they can't get a location to play, like, to do it, you know, to do a comedy show. And so like he was like, well, why don't I just do it? And so he just set up a pop-up shop across the city, and just like that's what he does, is that he just sets up with the venues and just has people in there to see a comedy show, you know. And I feel like you could do that with music. You could do it with everything. I mean, I know a lot of people that run the open mics and the singer-songwriter stuff. They do that too. They pop up all over the city. So I think the punk scene, the metal scene, you know, all those scenes, like they could use it. And
I would even just like negate the qualifier, just the music scene, just the creative scene. Everyone needs to work together to make something good. No undercutting. Let's just be here to support one another.
Why was New York City's music scene had an explosion in the 70s and early 80s, where you had filmmakers like Jim Jarmusch and guys like that, and James Chance with his, like, pretended his saxophones got stolen so he could turn it in for insurance money to make an independent film. He was a musician, and they were all working together with the artists and the filmmakers and the musicians to create a certain world. And that's why it is what it is.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma City should have one of those too.
Yep.
And you got to get the right players in the game to like have a come to Jesus meeting. And I might not agree with all your ideas, but some of your ideas are awesome. Just like some of my ideas might not be so good. So we sanity check each other to try to make it the best that we can.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's great talking to you guys. This is the Rumble. And so the local Earshot podcast I run on the value for value system. That is time, talent, and treasure. I value everybody's time for listening. I know that there's many podcasts out there, and you could be listening to pretty much any of them. I mean, there's a lot more music podcasts coming out now. When I first started this, there wasn't that many local music podcasts. Now they're starting to pop up. So as for talent, if you are an artist and you want to be on the podcast, you can reach out to me at john@thelocalearshot.com or on my socials, Instagram or the Facebook page. Just message me through there. And as for the third T is treasure. So everything is donation-based. All equipment is bought for the show, and everything pretty much goes right back into the show. So if you want to donate to the show, you can go over to localearshot.com. There's a tab that says donate. You can take like crypto, Cash App, Venmo, like all those different things that turn into money. So thank you for listening.